Hello everyone, thanks you're watching that video. In that video I'm gonna to talk a little bit about the gradation, the new feature in Angular which is a part of the last features released in the last two versions. And first of all I will start with the server-side rendering mechanism, because the gradation is like a part of the server-side rendering mechanism. And what does it mean, the server-side rendering? Briefly. That assumes that the content of the index.html file is rendered on the server. What does mean the content? The content of the body tag. That means a kind of a piece of HTML which is generated on the server and then injected into the body tag. Why we need the server-side rendering in general? I think to answer on that questions we have to talk a little bit about the single page application pattern. What is it? Those frameworks like Angular, Vue.js, React, they are representatives of single page application frameworks. I will not talk a lot about the single page application frameworks, how they do work, that's not the topic of that video, but I will tell you the most important for that video. The most important particularity of the single page application frameworks is that once user visited the website, the server returns index.html without the content. That means the body tag of the index.html doesn't have any information to be displayed for the user. And that information is supposed to be rendered and injected on the browser side with the help of framework. Doesn't matter, Angular, Vue.js or React. So when user visited the page, he sends the request to the server, returns the index.html, then browser sends the request to get all the bundles with the framework, then framework starts its bootstrapping, and then it completes the body tag. That means creation of the elements and inject them in the body, and then user will see the content. What are the problems related to that approach? First of all, Google bots. They receive the same empty body tag. They cannot see any content inside. The content which can be parsed, then indexed by Google, and then can increase the ranking in the Google. Your website less searchable in the Google because of the single page application. The second problem is it takes some time, because user should wait until browser will do bootstrapping of the will do uploading of the bundles and then bootstrapping of the frameworks, etc. And that's why the server-side rendering mechanism, that's what the community did to help solve those two problems. Because during the server-side rendering, the index.html and particular body tag is completed with a rendered on the server HTML content, like a piece of content, the same which is rendered on the browser, but it's done on the server. And when user sending the first request, he receives on the browser already ready to use, ready to see content, because the body tag has already the content. But that content is not ready to use, meaning that browser will display all the elements, buttons, input fields, etc. But browser cannot, browser should attach also the events, and the user cannot interact with the website until the elements will have a listener. And that's the place where the gradation plays its main role. So the gradation by itself is a process of recovering that functionality. It's even other words, it's the different bootstrapping, different mode of framework bootstrapping, which helps to just only to attach events to the existing DOM elements, not to recreate them again in the HTML, but to attach just only listeners, because the content is already generated during the server-side rendering. And that's the process. But Angular till the 16th version didn't have the gradation. What does it mean? That means that on the browser user could see the content. But as far as Angular didn't have the gradation, it started its bootstrapping in a convenient way, meaning it created again nodes and replaced the existing content in the body tag with the newly created elements. You can understand that it takes really more time, first of all, because nothing like user can see the content which will be replaced with a newly created, maybe even the same elements in a half of seconds. So, and also the second problem, it's a flickering, because user can see the content which is disappeared and appeared again in a half of second or second, it depends on. So it's also not a good user experience. And but with the iteration, since the 16th version, that problem has been solved. So now it works better, and it's really better user experience. You can see that even, I would say, compared to the other frameworks, from my point of view, Angular iteration works better and faster. What also important to say about the iteration in Angular? Maybe someone is interested how it's happening, the comparison of elements which are existing in the DOM already in the index.html because of server-side rendering, and which are projected to be replaced or compare, like those which are existing in the virtual DOM. In Vue.js, for example, how it's happening. Vue.js does stringification of what's existing and what needs to be injected, and then symbol by symbol it does the comparison. And it's problem because it's a bit problematic, because if you have a minification of the HTML files or anything like that, so it can break that comparison, despite that the nodes by itself, the structure and the content is the same. Even extra space, even extra line break can lead to mismatch and can lead that the content will be replaced. So that will happen completely the same if we don't have the iteration. But Angular does that comparison without stringification. So it checks just only the tags. If the tags are the same, Angular will continue iteration, will attach just only the events, because Angular will change the classes. For Angular, it doesn't important what the class is, what the content inside. By the way, the content will be checked on the lower layer. But the classes, if the classes will be different, Angular will change them. And the changes of classes will not affect kind of visibility of website. I mean the performance of visibility. It will not lead to any flickering. If, for example, if you would replace the element, the replacement of element can bring the flickering, but the changes of the classes will not. So that's also very good what I liked in the Angular iteration mechanism. And in general, I liked how it works. So that's all what's related to the iteration. Maybe a couple of words related how to start. It's really sometimes too painful to achieve the iteration fully will work on the browser side. You have to use different tools. I may suggest a couple of things. First of all, if you have any requests or any, even not the request, but set timeouts, set intervals, and you would like to run them during the initialization of the components or services, so you can use in application reference service, you can use app stable property, it's a subject to which you can subscribe, and in that subscription you can run your set timeout, your set interval. I'm not going to talk in details what's going on, but in general the iteration starts when the application is stable. The stability of application, it's a situation when no micro tasks is run. Micro tasks that set timeout or set intervals. And if you have the one in your initial initialization logic as a part of services or components, so that may break the iteration will start, because the app stable subject will never fire, as set timeout or set interval will run again and again. And that will lead to the error in the console. The application will not be broken in general, but the gidration will be broken, and you will see an error in the console, meaning saying that the gidration was waiting for the 10 seconds and didn't start, etc., etc. So you have to debug what's exactly what the service, what the set timeout, etc., makes broken the gidration is starting. In my case, I had, because the application is really too large, even I dumped the services in Angular and in Zone.js, which are responsible for registering the micro tasks, and I caught exactly the place when that set timeout has been invoked, and I found that place. But it's maybe the faster way. For me it was like the one, but which ensure me that I will find the exact place. So that's what's related to gidration. I think that's it. Thanks for watching that video. If you will have any questions, you can write. Bye.